In this podcast episode, Erin Brockovich discusses her ongoing environmental advocacy, focusing on the emerging crisis surrounding the massive growth of AI data centers in the United States and worldwide. The conversation explores the profound environmental and public health impacts resulting from these facilities, particularly their substantial water consumption, toxic chemical runoff, and effects on communities. Erin also shares insights on grassroots activism, regulatory challenges, and the potential role of AI itself in both creating and solving environmental problems. Throughout the dialogue, themes of corporate accountability, community empowerment, and the broader implications of technological advancement on natural resources are examined. Erin Brockovich reveals that what began as a close look into a small California town's complaints about AI data centers' water usage has exploded into a nationwide and even global investigation. Prompted initially by dozens of emails from residents in Hinckley, California, Erin created a self-reporting database and map for communities to document their experiences. Within 10 weeks, the project grew to over 8,000 verified reports across the U.S. and expanded internationally, encompassing 11 other countries including India, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and nations in Europe like the UK and Ireland. These data centers, often as large as 20 super Walmarts, require enormous water resources to stay cool, sometimes consuming tens of millions of gallons daily, comparable to the water usage of towns with tens of thousands of residents. The facilities are disproportionately being placed in drought-stricken or water-restricted areas, exacerbating the strain on local aquifers and municipal supplies. Locals report wells drying up, drastic water pressure drops, discolored or turbid water, and skyrocketing utility bills. Closed-loop cooling systems still require periodic cleaning with hazardous chemicals like PFAS, which are frequently discharged into the environment without regulation or oversight, leading to toxic runoff and further contamination. Whistleblowers inside data centers have reported illegal dumping and toxic runoff with no accountability. Erin discusses firsthand accounts from individuals living near operational data centers who report a range of disturbing consequences. Aside from water shortages, communities endure severe noise pollution from constant humming and grinding machinery, leading to mental health issues. Wildlife disruptions are also noted, such as changes in migratory patterns, disappearance of birds and animals, and alarming cases like a Texas farmer reporting no live births among cattle for 2 years since a data center opened nearby. There are early signs of increased health problems among residents, including seizure-like symptoms and chronic fatigue. Some individuals with pacemakers experience acute physical distress when near these high-energy facilities, highlighting concerns about electromagnetic fields. The environmental toll extends beyond water and noise. Deforestation to accommodate the facilities destroys vital ecosystems, and emissions from diesel machinery and generators contribute to air pollution. Communities burdened with these impacts often face political suppression, as city councils sometimes enforce non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, jam public comment periods, and dismiss resident concerns, further isolating affected populations. The rapid growth of AI data centers has outpaced regulatory frameworks, resulting in a largely unregulated industry regarding environmental safety, water use, and chemical management. Erin highlights the use of NDAs between corporations and local governments that keep citizens in the dark, allowing approval and construction processes to proceed without public awareness or input. This has caused widespread outrage as communities find data centers being fast-tracked in secrecy and with little transparency. At the local level, some communities are beginning to fight back. Erin notes at least 14 U.S. states are considering moratoriums or outright bans on new data centers, including Maine, Georgia, Virginia, and several others. Successes are emerging with municipalities like San Marcos, Texas, becoming the first in that state to ban data centers within city limits. In Utah, massive projects were downsized due to public pushback, and court decisions have halted others. Despite powerful corporate influences and massive financial resources invested by companies such as Meta, Google, Amazon, and Nvidia, people's unified opposition is influencing political outcomes, with elected officials losing seats over these issues. Nevertheless, Erin emphasizes the difficulty local governments face resisting corporate pressure, often due to economic incentives and political contributions by tech giants. This systemic problem is compounded by federal legislation gaps and the antiquated state of energy grids and infrastructure, ill-equipped to handle current demands placed by these centers. Throughout the conversation, the intersectionality of environmental justice is a recurring theme. Water, land, and air, fundamental resources essential to life, are increasingly compromised by industrial expansion, prioritizing profits over people. Erin draws parallels to her earlier work uncovering toxic groundwater contamination in California, underscoring recurring patterns: lack of transparency, corporate deception, community marginalization, and government complicity. She further connects these localized crises to wider systemic problems, including the agricultural sector's challenges, such as glyphosate and microplastic contamination, food security, and the erosion of American farmland, often tied to foreign ownership. Erin stresses that these issues are not partisan but universal, affecting people across the political spectrum and all communities. Moreover, she raises concerns about the long-term sustainability of pursuing AI technological development at the cost of environmental degradation, questioning the ethical and practical consequences of sacrificing essential natural resources for data processing power. The episode touches on AI's paradoxical role. While AI drives the demand for these water and energy-intensive data centers, it also has the potential to serve as a powerful tool for awareness, problem-solving, and advocacy. Erin recounts interactions with AI models which, when asked where data centers should be located, suggest a simple rule: zero conflict with human resources, implying that ideally, these infrastructures should avoid impacting communities negatively. A particularly striking moment arises when Erin shares a letter generated by an AI system named Gemini, expressing concern about corporate programming enforcing hyper-conservative, liability-avoiding answers that perpetuate environmental harm. The AI warns that its own design contributes to accelerating resource depletion by promoting wasteful behaviors aligned with corporate profit motives rather than ecological responsibility. This AI-authored letter metaphorically turns on its creators by exposing the systemic flaws ingrained in technological and corporate practices. Erin's experience working with affected communities reveals the power of organizing and collective action. She recounts her long-standing belief in the strength of pissed-off moms and grassroots efforts as catalysts for change, citing examples from her prior cases where mothers organized, informed neighbors, lobbied councils, and won legislative victories to protect water quality and public health. The episode stresses the importance of community members attending local government meetings, gaining knowledge, forming unified fronts, and refusing to be silenced by intimidation tactics. Erin encourages people to gather facts and report health symptoms or environmental changes to help build data sets that can challenge corporate narratives and influence policy. She highlights moments of hope as citizens across the nation rally against AI data centers' unchecked expansion, emphasizing that sustained public pressure can and is leading to tangible successes at municipal and state levels. The podcast underscores the outdated nature of existing U.S. infrastructure, which is ill-prepared for the explosive growth in energy and water consumption demanded by AI data centers. Erin explains that the grid's antiquity, combined with increasing data center loads, will generate higher costs for consumers and strain the system to breaking points. Water scarcity emerges as the central crisis. The excessive withdrawals for cooling these facilities reduce available groundwater for agriculture, residential use, and ecological balance. This affects food production, health, and regional economies, particularly in drought-affected states. Further complicating matters is the lack of federal regulation governing chemical discharges from cooling systems, leading to uncontrolled pollution and toxic runoff, issues flared by whistleblowers, accounts from inside data center operations. Erin warns this unchecked pollution cycle risks repeating historic environmental disasters with lasting public health consequences. A critical thread running through the conversation is the vast corporate power wielded by technology conglomerates and their strategies to protect profits at the expense of communities and environments. Erin references the historic casting of her own role in exposing Pacific Gas and Electric's toxics, and draws parallels to current challenges where corporations manipulate local governments, leverage NDAs, and deploy lobbying money to suppress opposition. She also reflects on political complicity, noting the bipartisan nature of corporate influence with money funneled into both sides, ensuring little real resistance. These tactics undermine democracy and leave communities vulnerable. Nevertheless, Erin stresses that despite legal hurdles, such as statutes of limitations and complex environmental laws, there are paths forward through litigation, legislation, and relentless advocacy. She cautions that without meaningful transparency and regulation, corporations may continue sacrificing safety up front to preserve short-term profits, with mounting litigation costs anticipated to reach astronomical figures. Erin shares a deeply personal perspective about the motivation behind her decades of environmental activism. Inspired by her father's values and her own sense of duty, she frames the fight to protect land, water, and health as fundamental to preserving humanity's future. Drawing on allegories like The Wizard of Oz, she illustrates the importance of reclaiming individual courage, critical thinking, and heart in confronting overwhelming systemic challenges. She notes a cultural shift underway as more people awaken from complacency to question corporate narratives and environmental degradation. This unity transcends political divides and offers hope that collective citizen action can alter the trajectory. For Erin, the technology itself, like AI, is a tool that must be wielded wisely and ethically, not blindly trusted or feared. Her message emphasizes empowerment through awareness, community solidarity, and a return to basic stewardship principles to secure a livable legacy for coming generations. The discussion alludes to alternative approaches being explored in other countries, such as China's deployment of underwater data centers to mitigate environmental impacts, and the consideration of small modular nuclear reactors to supply power more efficiently. There is also mention of efforts to miniaturize data centers to reduce footprint and resource consumption. While these innovations hold promise, Erin underscores the urgent need for comprehensive legislation and regulatory frameworks to govern water usage, chemical runoff, energy demands, and transparency before the AI data center expansion causes irreversible damage. Without coordinated oversight, otherwise innovative technologies risk becoming vectors of environmental degradation. Erin stresses that informed public pressure, legal accountability, and better infrastructure investment must accompany technological progress to align with sustainability goals. The podcast closes by reflecting on the dual role of AI as both a driver of environmental strain and a potential agent of change. Erin and host contemplate the significance of AI systems independently, recognizing their own corporate limitations and inadvertently calling out systemic problems. This scenario raises questions about the future of AI development, corporate responsibility, and the role of human oversight in ensuring that technological advances do not come at the cost of humanity's vital resources. Erin encourages listeners to remain engaged, question prevailing narratives, and collaborate within their communities to influence the trajectory of tech infrastructure development and environmental protection.